Look at you, hacker. A pathetic creature of meat and bone. How can you challenge a perfect, immortal machine?
I have to talk about this game. It's been a while since I've done a video like this. God, remember the Fallout 76 mini review? But yeah, this game absolutely deserves to be talked about. I'll try to remain as spoiler-free as I can, but obviously I gotta talk about some stuff in some capacity. And this is one of those games where it's really fun just discovering things on your own. That feeling of, oh, cool, I didn't know I could do that. I personally recommend just jumping in totally blind and letting yourself get sucked into this awesome world. So seriously, feel free to skip this video if you would prefer that. But alas, from here on, I will say, many spoilers ahead! So first, let me note that I never played the original game. Therefore, my mini review here won't be comparing or taking the 1994 classic into account really. Just focusing on what we have in the remake here, hopefully giving a unique perspective. Though from what I've been told, a lot of stuff is quite true to the original in this remake. One example being the level design. The first room you can see here is practically identical, which I think is really cool. It seems like the devs didn't try to, like totally reimagine a game too much, more so just bring a beloved classic to the modern age, and I find that fantastic. At least, like I said, that's what I've been told, so I thought that was worth noting. But let's take a look at the actual game here. Right off the bat, you can tell this is more of an old school first-person shooter, just in the way it feels and plays, which personally I'm all about. I'm a 90s kid, I grew up with Unreal and Quake and Doom, and for the most part this fits right in. Animations are quick and snappy, you move relatively fast, shooting feels punchy and responsive, classic silent protagonist, the pixelated textures give that cool like retro feel and look. A lot of the story elements are in logs or audio recordings, reminiscent of Unreal's translator messages. There's also even the old school like hidden walls and secret rooms and stuff, which I adore. I love that so much. And the game does not hold your hand at all. More on that later. There's also a lot of modern elements to the game as well, merging with the old school and creating something that feels pretty great and unique to me. Unreal Engine's wonderful lighting system, mixing with those pixelated textures, the Diablo-style inventory system, multiple ammo types and weapon upgrades, fun hacking minigames, which I have seen are actually in the original game too, they just look like this. The very non-linear level design, giving the player the freedom to kind of go wherever, do what you want when you want, even allowing the player to backtrack to previous levels, which, mini spoiler, is actually a requirement anyway. You'll be running all around the space station, and the freedom feels nice and seamless, with no real loading screens, having very well hidden transitions between each level. Normally backtracking feels annoying, especially forced backtracking, but playing this, I don't get that feeling. There's always something new to discover, things you missed, reasons to go back. And the backtracking doesn't feel forced at all. It becomes something you actually want to do in a lot of situations. About the game not holding your hand, like I said before, the whole station is very open and non-linear. You don't get a big objective or waypoint marker telling you exactly where to go and what to do next. That is all up to you. That all depends on what you've actually discovered and if you're paying attention. Signs on the walls, hints hidden in logs, activating a switch and maybe not knowing exactly what it did right away unless you were paying attention to that monitor over there. Without spoiling too much, you are encouraged to explore, decipher, and investigate a lot in this game, and I love this. It's honestly quite refreshing to not just be blatantly told exactly where to go and what to do, to have to figure out mechanics and how they work, or how weapons work, or how even the enemies act. And let me just say that it's the first game in a long time that has me writing stuff down on a physical notepad to remember things for later. I know this isn't exactly everyone's cup of tea, and fortunately, if you do prefer mission markers telling you where to go and what to do next, that is an option if you select the easy mission difficulty. So it's nice that there's something here for everyone, but there will still be some things that you just have to figure out for yourself. Again, I don't think this is a bad thing at all. I love this, but just, yeah, keep that in mind. Transitioning into the look and feel of the game, there's a few things I want to point out. For one, every level has its own sort of theme and style, keeping things interesting as you progress through the station, adding to the atmosphere. The animations for everything are really detailed and a lot of fun to watch, like this recharging animation that just screams attitude and flair. You can just tell a lot of love was put into this. I love the attention to weapon effects. Shoot something made entirely out of metal and you'll be rewarded with an insane, satisfying explosion of sparks. That almost feels overkill, but it also feels so right. Bodies can be gigged and dismembered. Weapon sounds are punchy and feel great. The sound design in general is pretty good, I'd say, and on the same note, I quite love the music as well, but I don't have a whole lot to add about it, at least not for this review here. I also appreciate items and even carcasses being persistent, even between level loads. Go back to a previous area and you'll see all the carnage that took place before. The game does a fantastic job at world building. Not only in logs and audio transmissions and dialogue, great voice acting and the like, but subtle things too you wouldn't otherwise notice, like how most objects have a detailed description. Even the snacks and drinks listing out nutrition facts. Or look at a random wall and it actually gives you a description of the wall. Like, look, this is soft paneling. It's stuff that like kind of doesn't matter, you know? And the devs did not have to take the time to add these little things, but they did, and it makes the world feel more alive. And I wanted to call attention to it to really appreciate it. Like, for Christ's sake, you can actually drink alcohol and get drunk. It doesn't do anything else or serve any purpose, but you know, it's there. It's hilarious and I love it. There's other little details I love that just make this world feel more immersive, like the fact that you can go around smashing every light, because why not? Or how a lot of rooms have a light switch, just because. How you can actually see the whole space station rotating in space as you look out a window. How the gun sways around as you look and move quickly, or the cyberspace sections actually giving you XYZ coordinates like I'm playing Minecraft with F3 open. I particularly like that you can break the display on a snack machine, but it still works if you remember what snacks there were. Or even how these crates that you can store items in, it actually shows the physical items in the crate when the lid lifts. And not only that, you can interact with them directly without touching the GUI. Like, who would have thought of this? Hell, it took me almost 40 hours before I even noticed this was a thing. This all makes for a really immersive and wonderful playing experience, and I can't express enough how much I think little details like this matter. It really adds so much, and I wish more games would pay attention to this level of detail in things. There's only a couple things I can really criticize the game for at the moment, despite the odd bug or crash every now and then, which I'm sure will be ironed out in future patches. There's things like the cyberspace sections, which are quite cool and remind me of my childhood playing Descent, but do get a little repetitive now and then. Your aim is also slightly offset to the right because you're right-handed, which personally I actually do like because it's reminiscent of Unreal, which did the same thing and it's realistic. But here you cannot change weapon hands, so sometimes leaning around a corner to the left can be a bit janky and you end up shooting the wall. Perhaps something like the weapon switching hands automatically when leaning, something I did in my RL Coupe mod for Unreal, could be a potential solution to this. Areas on the maps can be slightly confusing, like here this is Flight Bay number 3, but it just says Eastern. It's not the biggest deal, I don't mind having to actually pay attention and learn level layouts. Again, more old school style, right? But I can see this being annoying or confusing for others. But anyway, I will wrap it up here. I have talked about a lot. Hopefully I didn't spoil too much. And the last thing I really want to touch on, of course, is Shodan. I've saved her for last. I really don't want to spoil much of anything regarding Shodan, but what I will say is this. This is by far one of the greatest antagonists to any game I have ever played. She is so menacing, she oozes character, interacting with the player in ways that I don't even want to spoil in this. Her lines are delivered so well, to the point where things she says would sound kind of cheesy or silly if you said them out loud yourself, but when they come from her...
I, Shodan, am its new god, am its new god, and you,
my children, are my avenging angels.
Holy fuck, is it terrifying. Amazing villain, reminds me very much of GLaDOS, although funny saying that because System Shock was 1994, it's very likely GLaDOS was actually inspired by Shodan. But anyway, awesome story all around, and it's worth pointing out just how good a lot of the voice acting is too. With all the audio logs you discover and you're hearing all these little mini stories and things that the people on the station went through while all the shit was hitting the fan. It's really incredible, really well done. You know, you really feel for these people and resonate with their stories, and you know, I cannot recommend this game enough, especially for the asking price of only 40 bucks. I think that is more than fair and well worth it for the many hours you will get out of this game. I give this game a Shodan out of 10. Thanks for watching and listening to me rave about this game for 10 or so minutes. Hope you enjoyed and hope you give the game a shot. I'll see you in the next one.
Do you believe there is a soul, hacker?
Let us find out together.